Showtime.
Coming and the flood waters up to the rafters,
and they're standing on the rooftops praying for something that floats.
Ooh, somebody tell me now, why does it always take some kind of natural disaster
for us to realize we're all in the same boat? Ooh, when we all come together, that's how we weather the sorrow. It's got me feeling hopeful. There's gonna be a brighter tomorrow.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Rosie and Bill Show. We are so excited this week to welcome back one of our favorite guests who happens to be a spectacular singer and a great guy. Welcome back to the Rosie and Bill Show, singer John Berry. John,
Hey,
how
guys.
are you?
I'm so good I can hardly believe it's me. How are y'all?
We're doing great. We're really excited to talk to you again. And, I have to tell you, I was on a vacation this summer in Nashville. I think it was in August. And I was looking at your concert list. I'm like, is he going to be at the Opry? Is he going to be at the Ryman? And you weren't. I was so disappointed. I wanted to come to one of your shows.
I love playing the opera.
Oh, you do? Yeah.
So
I wish we could have, caught you live because I was telling my brother about you. And we had to settle for Vince Gill.
well, you get what you get.
But we did see your buddy, Steve Dorff. We had a little dinner with Steve, which was really great.
Good. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's so talented.
Terrific.
He has a lot of great stories.
Yeah, and that's actually, John, where I wanted to kind of segue into the first topic we'd like to talk with you tonight about, and that is an album that came out earlier this year, and there's a very compelling story behind it, and an amazing talent who Rosie just mentioned who produced it, and the album was Find My Joy. So what inspired the album, and how did you and Steve get brought together for that project?
Well, I've been wanting to cut an album like this for years, and it just never came together. It's a collection of 6 of my favorite gospel hymns and 4 new songs of faith. And I started it a few times, but the producers had different visions. We kind of got started on it. It ended up sounding like very much pop Christian 25-year-old. And I'm their grandpa, It just didn't sound like me at all. It would sound like me trying really hard to be cool. And ain't nothing cool about grandpa trying to sound cool. So I had cancer 3 years ago, and throat cancer of all things, and was going through the recovery from the treatments and the therapy from all that. And I got an email from my manager, Brian Smith, and it was a song that Steve Dorff wrote called Find My Joy. And I couldn't listen to it. I just couldn't. I saw the title and I went, what joy? And it's a wrong place for somebody of faith to be, because we shouldn't find our joy in our circumstances. Our joy should be found in Christ. And I was looking at my own circumstances, because everybody's got circumstances. Everybody's got stuff they're going through, so I just never listened to it. I couldn't. And it took me like 6 months, 7 months. And I finally listened to it, and the song really spoke to me. It was just a great song, well-written song about realizing that you're never alone, no matter what it is you're facing. You're not facing it by yourself. And it's just It's a great piece of music. And Steve and I got together to see what other songs he might have, and ended up talking about just different things and direction and production. And we were all on the same page. And so he ended up producing this record. And one of the great things that Steve brought to the session is he didn't bring any of the baggage. Well, this is how we've always done this song, like How Great Thou Art, for instance, or Great Is Thy Faithfulness, which he had never heard before. And you think, how could he have never heard some of these old hymns before? Well, he's Jewish and he's from New York City. So there's that. And so matter of fact, somebody tells, he said, where have these songs been on my list? I said, come by the church on Sunday, the Baptist church. You'll probably hear some. And he brought something really fresh to the recording of these songs. The process was just so different. And he just took beautiful melodies and beautiful songs and did everything he could to make them more beautiful. And the result is pretty stunning. I just am lucky to be the guy singing the songs. And most of them are recorded with a small band and a 45-piece string orchestra. And the one song, Something Bigger Than Me, which Steve wrote, was recorded with the Utah Symphony Orchestra. And it's just over the top beautiful.
Well, I was going to ask you how it was to work with Steve, but I think you just answered it. That's fantastic. I mean, it's interesting, John, what you were saying about that you couldn't listen to that song. I don't want to belabor it, but I totally can relate to that. And I feel like it's these difficult challenges sometimes really test our faith, and that it's a very natural thing to kind of get caught in that trap of, just feeling like what is in front of us is all there is right now.
Right.
And sometimes it does take a little time, a little kick in the butt to look, where you put your eyes where they need to be.
There's a Bible verse, and I can't place it. I have horrible memory. There's a Bible verse that an old song is based on. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. What that Bible verse does not say is, this is the day that the Lord has made. It's going to be perfect. Rejoice and be glad in it. What it could say is, John, this is the day that the Lord has made. You're going to get a cancer diagnosis, but rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. You're going to wreck your car, but you rejoice and be glad in it. Whatever it is, because whatever it is that God puts in my path, as long as I am walking in his will, I have to rejoice and be glad in it. And because he's got good plans for me. And for those who love and trust the Lord, he has good plans. And we have to trust because he sees a much bigger picture than we do.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, there's a greater purpose that we are not necessarily privy to, and that's where the faith comes in.
Stuff we don't see.
Right, for sure.
Absolutely. And John, one thing that I wanted to touch on before I get to any more questions, because having listened to the album and many of the songs I've listened to many times, and you mentioned How Great Thou Art. And I have to tell you, and for the folks watching, the song is amazing. And musically, yes, Steve did work magic on every one of these songs. I totally agree. And there is a newness, or whatever it is, there's something to it but it still keeps, the important parts in it as well. But in How Great Thou Art, John, that finish, I literally, the first time I heard it, I had to stop it and then go back and listen to it again. You hit notes that I didn't know existed.
That's my Elvis ending, man.
Yes.
That's my Elvis ending.
Yeah.
The big note, the big finish. And it's scary. It's like singing "Oh Holy Night." Am I going to get the high note at the end? Because not only is it high on this one, it's also big.
Yes.
It's a big ending.
And sustained. It was phenomenal. But so I wanted to make sure that I brought that up, because everybody needs to listen to the album, listen to that song, and you're going to want to listen to it more than once. But you mentioned the songs that Steve brought to the project. How did you go about picking the others?
Well, most of them are just songs that I grew up listening to in church that I loved, and that were very instrumental in my growth continuing growth of my faith, and it's just songs that have always just meant a lot to me, and I just wanted to be sure I got those put on this project because they, like I said, they just meant a lot to me, and they have all these years, and I wanted it to be something special.
John, when you go to church on Sundays, do they wrangle you into getting up there and singing?
They have no idea who I am.
Oh, wow.
They have no idea. And if they do, no one's ever said. So
And you probably prefer it that way, right?
Yeah, that's fine. We go to a very large church, and they've got an incredible music program, and it's really amazing. And so it's fine. So it's all good.
I'm sure there's a couple of, parishioners that are like, "Oh, you sound very good, young man. Keep singing."
It's funny. Most Sundays I sit with John Conley. A lot of Sundays.
Oh,
Mr.
wow.
Mr. Rose colored glasses. We share a pew. So.
Two great voices in that pew for sure. And John, one other thing I wanted to bring up, one other song from the album. I saw you perform live on Huckabee's show, "Live Like You."
Yeah.
And man, I'll tell you, I've always been amazed at the sound that Trey Corley and the band get on the show. But that particular night, that particular song, the band was spot on. The background singer sounded like a chorus. And again, you crushed it. Is it safe to say that song really resonates with you because you really performed the heck out of it?
Well, thank you. I love it. It's another Steve Dorff song, and that's going to be our closing, our encore song for the Christmas tour this year. So we want people to come and enjoy the tour and enjoy the Christmas music, and then go out and live like Jesus. So.
Well, you segued right into the next question, which is, this Christmas tour is something that you started 26 years ago. How did it get started?
Well, it got started at Green Acres Baptist Church. And Green Acres is where my wife grew up going to church. And she started going there when she was 8. And when we got engaged, Fred Rowell, Brother Fred, was the pastor there. And he saw something in me that I don't think anybody else saw. Matter of fact, he asked me and Robin, Christmas of '88. We got married in July of '88. In Christmas of '88, he asked if I'd do a Christmas program at the church. I'm sure a lot of the members of the church about had a heart attack, because at that time I was just this guy playing bars in Athens. And there was a party every night in Athens, and we were the leaders. And we always had the best time. Always had a lot of fun. And but Fred saw something in me that he really thought, he saw something in me I didn't see in myself. And we did a little Christmas program with me and my wife Robin and our sister-in-law Tracy, who's married to Robin's brother, and the church pianist Betsy Williams. And it went really, really well. And Oh Holy Night was a huge hit with the church. And we ended up doing it for 6 years, I think. And during that time, we started in '88. Of course, in '92, I got a record deal. Christmas of '93, I had my second song on the radio. I think we did it maybe 1 or 2 more years. And then we started doing a national tour. It started getting a little big for the church, so we ended up moving it to the Classic Center in Athens, Georgia. And so that's really where it all started. And we started off doing I think it started off about 10 cities, and it's grown to about 20 to 25 cities every year. It goes usually closer to 25 every year, and we go from Thanksgiving to Christmas typically. And it's a lot of fun. And for folks who've not seen us, we do Christmas music very much the way you're going to remember them having been done. Some people like to mess with them. I like to do them the way I remember them having been done to the childhood, and maybe a little freshness added to them there, maybe. And we open with songs off of or hits we've had on the radio, and then we'll do songs off our current album, which this year we'll be doing songs off of Find My Joy. And then after intermission, we come back and do songs to celebrate Christmas.
Well, it sounds like a great show. You mentioned the songs the way you heard them as a child. What was Christmas like growing up in your home? Was that music really an important part of that holiday?
Music was always important in our home. My mom loved gospel music, and my dad always loved to listen to Van Cliburn play the piano. This is the construction worker, Van Cliburn listener, my dad. And my brother became an opera singer. My sister had a lovely voice and loved pop music. And at that time, Carole King had probably one of the most well-known records in the world at that time, Tapestry, and when I was a kid. And all just different kinds of music being played in our home. Of course, somehow I fell in love with the Shy Lights and the Stylistics and the Dramatics and the Philly soul sound, which is different than the Detroit music. You know, it's a different thing. And then I started playing guitar in the early 70s, and guitar players, singer-songwriters, John Denver, Jim Croce, Cat Stevens, Harry Chapin, Jackson Brown, all that kind of music, Dan Fogelberg, all that kind of music I gravitated to. And then I started making my own records in 1977. I made my first album, 79. I graduated high school in 77. Made my first album in 1979, a record called Humble Beginnings. I hope you never get to hear it or have to hear it, forced by gunpoint to listen to it. I hope that never happens, because it's horrible.
You know, Bill's going to go out and find it now.
Yeah, I'll find it.
Yeah, you don't put yourself through it. And because you know what you'll say? You'll say, you know what? He was right. It does suck. So, but we had no idea what we were doing. Matter of fact, I talked to Perry Barton the other day. Perry and I went to high school together. Wonderful piano player, entertainer. He lives here in Nashville now. And we went to high school together. And I built a little studio in the basement of my mom and dad's house. And Perry and I would sit down there for hours on end, learning how to record. We had no idea. We recorded my first 3 albums, Humble Beginnings, In the Nighttime, and Tired of the Game, on a reel-to-reel 4-track TAC recorder. We would record 4 tracks, physically take the 4-track, we'd mix the 4 tracks down to a 2-track, take the 2-track tape, put it on the 4-track machine, record 2 more tracks, and then mix it. 6 tracks. And we were talking about it the other day. We haven't seen each other in a while. We were talking about those old days of recording, and we just did not have any idea what we were doing. And we were just trying to figure it all out. And in the meantime, we're making family members suffer through listening to records we thought were fabulous. And
yes, but you thought they were fabulous, and I'm sure they were. You made magic.
We made some magic, but they were not fabulous. Now, the last 2, let me see, Humble Beginnings, In the Nighttime, Waiting for You, Tired of the Game, Things Are Not the Same, Saddle the Wind. Is that 5 or 6? There's 6 I did. I'm trying to think. Anyway, the last 2, Things Not the Same as Saddle the Wind, we did in other studios, larger real studios, so to speak. And Capitol re-released those 2. And they're pretty good records. They're pretty good albums. And the first 4, we're just going to leave those alone.
Well, that's okay. It's growing pains. I wanted to ask you really quickly, John, you mentioned earlier about singing How Great Thou Art. Was Elvis Presley an influence of yours?
Isn't Elvis an influence on everybody? I mean, Elvis he influenced the entire musical world. You know, I don't know if there's anything musical that is happening today is not a result of what Elvis did in the 50s. You know, he's a huge influence on the music world. And people may take that for granted. But he just knocked down all sorts of barriers. And one of the things I like about Elvis is he just sang, you know, he just put it out there. He just sang with a big voice, and that's where the gospel side of him comes out, you know, because that's something about gospel is and I would tend to do that on my earlier records, where you sing a note and you don't quit singing the note till the next note comes. People refer to that now as over singing, you know, and which I understand, but that comes from listening to a lot of gospel music, and that's sort of that thing. But Elvis just had a gift of just making songs his own, and you know, you felt like he wrote them. So and typically he didn't, but he just sang them in such a way it was very convincing that he meant what he was saying. So
Yeah, I think those gospel roots really solidified that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think he had a huge influence, of course, on rock and roll. I think he had an influence on black music, and had an influence on the future of gospel music from the time when he started recording, because he cut all those gospel records that he loved so much, and I think it changed the perception of it. So he had a big influence on the music that's listened to in America today and around the world.
yeah, absolutely. And John, you just talked about Elvis's influence, and you referred back to the 50s. And I'd like to just jumpstart a little bit to another decade, the 90s. And here's why. Not all that long ago, we had the dynamic duo of Joe and Martina on
Come
the
on.
show. And
In the 90s.
yeah, yeah, and we actually ended up talking about you quite a bit. One of the stories was Martina. You came to Scoreboard, and she was there, and asked her to come up and sing with her, and she was so overcome with emotion. It was just such a beautiful clip, and I believe it was your daughter-in-law comes up and gives her a tissue because she was just so blown away. And we also talked about Give Me Back the 90s, where you were mentioned in the song, and lo and behold, in the video, there you are. How did that come together? How did you get involved with that?
Well, I'd heard my son Kalen, who's a drummer, plays with different people around, and he's done some work with them. And Joe had mentioned to them about the song, and they sent it to me. And I was driving down the road listening to it, and I go, man, pretty good song. And all of a sudden, they're talking about me. I'm like, shut up. And so they I sent them a note and said, man, if I could join y'all and sing on that, I'd be honored. And so they were just tickled. And so I got to go to Joe's got a studio set up at his house, really, really nice studio. And he's a great producer engineer. So got to go over there and record some vocals with him and with Martina. And it was awesome. Pretty cool thing to get. And then they decided they were going to do a video, and we went to the Nashville Palace and shot the video outside Nashville Palace. A lot of fun.
Give me back the 90s in an old honky tonk with my baby and a wine on the song, boots scooting all night under the neon lights. If I could go back, that's where you'd find me. Give me back the 90s. Give me back the 90s.
That was a lot of fun. We enjoyed watching that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're good people.
And I think that video, like when you got there, it was like right before everything was about to be shut down. You got it in just under the gun, I think.
Yeah, the whole world shut down right after that.
Yeah, we heard you received a warning like, turn around, go back, run away. And you were like, nope, I'm on my way. John, what is going on behind you? Tell our viewers what you're doing.
A friend of ours loaned us this warehouse. It's a rather large warehouse, and we are pre-production doing lighting setup. We've got our lighting rig in here, most of it, and just starting to get all the lights programmed, starting to get some things going in between the two towers over there. There's a video screen that goes in there, and so just starting to get some pre-production stuff done.
And that's for
so when we have rehearsal week, we're not behind the eight ball. So.
See, everyone, it's not just glamour on stage. He's getting his hands down and dirty.
I've been crawling around up under some of these lights, punching in numbers and stuff on the lights to be sure they're all talking to each other.
Right.
Wow, that's impressive. Well, I'll tell you, your talents know no boundaries. That's for sure. You can do it all.
Either that, or I'm just so cheap that I refuse to hire anybody, and I'll figure it out myself. I think that's where it falls into.
You're empowering yourself. That's all.
Yeah.
Good to know how to do.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. I'm empowering myself.
John, what do you and Rob? How's Robin, by the way?
She's great. She's doing great.
Good, because I see pictures every now and then on Facebook of the grandchildren and.
Yeah, sweet grandkids. We got a sweet family. God's blessed us with 3 wonderful children and 3 fabulous in-law children and 2 grandbabies that are just amazing.
Oh, that's wonderful. So before we close out, what would you say is on, besides the Christmas tour, is there anything, passion project you've got in the works?
Nothing right now. We're just we'll get Christmas done and we'll get into next year and see what's what. So I know there's a run of love songs dates we're going to do in February. So trying to, I did a record a number of years ago called what's it called? I Give My Heart. That's some of my favorite love songs that I've recorded, and then some of my favorite love songs listen to growing up, like "If" by David Gates and Bread, "Time in a Bottle" by Jim Croce, "Love Look What You Did to Me" from the Urban Cowboy soundtrack, Boss Skaggs, "I Just Want to Stop" by Gino Vanelli. Just some of the great love songs when I was a kid growing up, and I always wanted to record them, so we did. So
that sounds fantastic. I want to hear that too.
Yes. Good record. Yeah, it's a really nice. John Ketchings played cello on it, and it's beautiful, beautiful record. Piano player John Hall produced it. Did a wonderful job.
Well, if there's going to be a tour involved with that, John, and you're going to end up anywhere in the Northeast, anywhere near Pennsylvania, New Jersey, you got to let us know. We'll be there.
We'll do it.
Yes,
that'd be awesome.
Absolutely. Well, this has been awesome, John. We really appreciate it. It was so great having the opportunity to catch up with you again. And we appreciate you taking the time away from your hard work there to talk with us. And we're looking forward to seeing and hearing more about the Christmas tour. We wish you all the best with that and all the best in 2023. And we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you both. It's sure good to be with you.
Oh, thanks, John. Folks, thank you so much. And we'll see you next week.
Eternity stepped into time and drew a mortal breath. This mystery so clearly seen, the world could not forget. How in the town of Bethlehem, in the most unlikely place, God the Father wore a child's face. There's something in the heart of God, so purely meek and mild. Finds its best expressions in the longings of a child. 'Cause every child's heart has hunger to be found and loved and known by someone who would make their heart a home. My heart is Bethlehem. I will make room for him. This humble dwelling place, made worthy by his grace. This child is still adored, he still is born deep in the hearts of men. My heart is Bethlehem.
Merry Christmas, everybody. I am so excited about this year's Christmas tour. I hope you'll make plans to be with us. Go to johnberry.com for more information on where to get tickets and to find a venue close to you. Bring your kids, bring your grandparents, bring your mom and dad. Come be with us. We'll have a great time. Merry Christmas, y'all.